Okay, we're doing outside, so I had to do a wreath for my front door, right? I picked up one of the star wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. These were not necessarily in the 4th of July section, they were just like in the Crafter Square section with the wreath forms. And I'm going to use Dollar Tree rope. So this is the 11-foot rope, but I don't want to wind it. I don't want to weave it. I want to try to make this easier if I can. So I'm going to try to cover like the outer star, the inner star, and the middle star, I guess, with rope. But I also need to do all the crossbars, which there's lots of them. And I don't really want to wrap them with string, but I want the look of that. So what I'm going to do is the first rope, I just went ahead and unwound it into 3 parts. Actually, just one of those parts was plenty to wrap all of the crossbars on this. And then we can go back in and add the other rope later. These are the 11-foot white rope, and I only ended up needing 2 packages for the whole wreath, so not very many. I'm going to start by flipping it over, and I'm going to glue it right here to get started on my first crossbar. Now, when I first started out, I didn't really know how long I needed this to be. So I spent like way too much time like kind of threading this through, where really you should just cut off a smaller piece. I learned after a little while that that would definitely be the easier way to do it. So as you can see, it just takes longer to string all this through. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I was thinking that I would just keep doing one piece, but it makes it look like when the rope is kind of uncurled like this, it makes it look like I took string and just wound it all the way around. But as you can see, I didn't have to go around it very many times because of the width of the rope, which is one reason why I'm using this. You could also wrap it with like macrame cord and like white if you wanted to, but I was trying to stick with like a white rope pattern on this one. So same thing starting here. I do have to cut and start and stop on each one because I want all the other stars to be open and flat and ready for the rope. So I'm just starting, it doesn't matter, you can start on the point of your star or the inner part. It doesn't really matter because I'm just simply wrapping this around and cutting it off and kind of just hot gluing it to itself on the back to kind of hide where it starts and stops. And when I go over it with the rope on the stars, I think it will kind of hide a lot of that behind it. Now, at first I thought about painting the rope after I put this together and kind of making it look like a star and stripe pattern like a flag. But I really loved how the rope turned out. So I actually left the rope as is and just added more patriotic touches to it. So we're just going to keep doing those crossbars all the way around. It definitely got easier once I started cutting the pieces, making them shorter like that, and I can just pull them right through. And I guess there's a lot of them. Every like inner part and outer part of the star is going to have one of those crossbars. And I want all of them to be wrapped because I don't want you to be able to see any of the wreath form sticking out. I love Dollar Tree like wreath forms like this, and sometimes I like to weave them. It would be a little bit more difficult to weave this one because of all of the strange angles and stuff like that on it. And so I thought this was a fun, easy way to DIY it, and I absolutely love how it turned out. It looks really high end. So this was probably the most time consuming part of it, was just wrapping those inner parts. But again, if you cut the little strands smaller, it's definitely faster. Now this rope is longer. It's the 11-foot. It's kind of skinny. I was trying to make sure that it's going to cover the wire wreath form well without any of the wire wreath form showing. And it looks like it will. So I'm glad that I used this one because it's a lot longer. It's going to go a lot farther. I am going to have like a rough end here where I have the end of the rope. I'm just going to make sure I do that the same all the way around on every star. And then I'm going to have that actually be the top of my star wreath. And I can kind of cover that when I adorn this. So just starting by hot gluing it there to the tip and then hot gluing it to the metal. It's really kind of important to put like a silicone mat or something down like I have underneath that. because your hot glue is not going to stick to that, and you can just put the glue on the top of it like that and put the rope right on there. If you don't have a silicone mat, just maybe you might need to pick it up a little bit so it doesn't glue it to whatever surface you're working on underneath. And we're doing the large star first, and I'm just doing one section at a time so my hot glue doesn't set up or anything. And then I'm making sure I get it centered on there really well because, again, I didn't want to see any of this dark metal wreath form. And you can kind of see the cool star pattern forming on this. I'm always looking for new ways and materials to DIY these wreath forms from the Dollar Tree and new ways to do it. So this is a fun new way. I really love how it turned out. So again, I want my rough edge of my star to be in the same part. So I started the same place. I started my outer star, and we're just going to glue one section at a time to do the inner. And like I said, I only used 2 packages of rope. So this method without wrapping and weaving definitely takes less rope. So it's a little bit more economical on that front as well. So we have 2 of the 3 stars wrapped in rope. The little one in the middle should be really easy. Again, I just start and stop at this same part of my star so I can kind of cover that up. I don't want you to be able to see any of those rough edges. And we just glue this all the way around. Now, in my initial idea, I was going to paint the top left quadrant blue, and then I was going to do red flag stripes on the rest of it. But once I got it all put together like this, I really loved the simplicity of just the rope. So let's just decorate it with a patriotic bow from the Dollar Tree. These are really cute. They're like kind of a burlap base. And so I'm just going to take a little bit of macrame cord and tie a loop here just to make a hanger for my wreath here on the top. That looks a little too long. I don't want to hang it that low, so I'm going to shorten it just a little bit. And that makes a perfect little wreath hanger. And then it's just a matter of adorning it with that beautiful bow. Look how pretty that is. It's like got plastic on the back of it, so hopefully it will hold up well to weather. It has like a metal bread tie, which I'm not a big fan of, but I don't think you'll be able to see it. And it's functional, so I decided just to go ahead and go with that. So I'm just getting it untangled and kind of even. I'm going to tie it on that top like crossbar like that with the bread tie. You could always use twine if you didn't want to use this like kind of junky bread tie on it, but it actually seemed to work pretty well. So I started by kind of tying it towards the top. I did like it a little bit lower, but since I have it on that crossbar, I was able to kind of wiggle it around and move it and adjust it until I'm super happy with it. That's what it looks like at the very tip. And I was trying to decide if I wanted it there, if I needed to move it. But again, I could just slide it down just a little bit here. And I got it like right where I wanted it. And I think that provides the fun flag stripe pattern on there, but you still get to see all the beautiful rope and the pattern that we made there on the star wreath. It's not a huge wreath, but I think it's kind of perfect for the 4th of July. Very simple, but it looks like really like high end and beautiful.